Alright, it seems a little bit crazy, but you pull it all the way through, and then once it's all the way through, you should be able to unroll it. Let me turn it around so it's lined up like we had it before. Alright, so you've got your cuff, you've got your accent piece, and this is the main part of your pillowcase. Okay? So what you're going to do next is you are going to fold it, and you're actually going to fold it in half with the wrong sides together. So you're folding it in half like this. Oh, let me straighten it out here. Alright, so now you can kind of see the pillowcase shape. And you just want to make sure everything is lined up. So you want your top edge lined up. You want your accent piece on both sides lined up as best as you can, as close as you can get them. Okay, and then you just want your edges lined up. Okay, so I'm going to pin this together. You can iron this so it's a little bit flatter if you've got someone to help you with that. You don't have to. I'm just going to start at the top here. I'm going to pin this together again. There's a lot of this is a challenge project, so there's a lot more steps than you guys are probably used to. When you're pinning, make sure you've got all your layers. There's a lot of layers at this top cuff piece. Okay, so I'm pinning just below my accent piece. I'm pinning, trying to line these up as best as I can. And I'm just going to pin to hold this in place. Flatten out your fabric, and I'm just going to keep pinning down this side and across the bottom. Just make sure they're lined up. Because there's only 2 layers now, you can space your pins a little further apart. Just helps to keep the edges where they should be. Okay, now I'm going to turn it, and I'm just going to pin the bottom closed. So we are actually going to be sewing this twice because we want to hide our raw edges. Our raw edge is this cut frayed edge here. So we're going to sew it once, then we're going to flip it around and sew it again, and that will hide our raw edge on the inside. So for the next part, after you pin, you're going to have to get a ruler and measure. Alright, so I've got it all pinned. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to use a piece of chalk, but if you don't have chalk, a pencil works just fine. And I am going to mark 1/4 inch, which is pretty small, from the edge of my fabric, just to give me a guideline of where I should be putting my stitches. You don't want to go too far in, or your pillowcase is going to be too small. So I'm just marking 1/4 inch from the edge. If you can use a pencil, you can use a marker. It's going to be hidden. I wouldn't recommend a Sharpie though, because that might bleed through the fabric. I've marked, it's a little hard to see my chalk marks. I'll hold it up closer. But I've marked, see the yellow marks? Those are 1/4 of an inch from the edge. And so this is going to be my guide for my sewing. So I'm going to back stitch now from the very, very top, 1/4 inch. I'm going to sew these edges closed to the end, and then I'm going to do the same thing, 1/4 of an inch across the bottom. The other side is already folded, so we don't need to sew this side. This side's already closed. Okay? So we just need to do one long side and across the bottom.